And we are live. We are live. Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, everybody. Here with our Tuesday night live stream. You know the drill, 6 p.m. every Tuesday. Ready to break down the committee's next set of college football playoff rankings. And guys, we are really starting to heat up here. Things are really starting to heat up. I mean, we are now less than 3 weeks away from Selection Sunday. We have this set of rankings now. We have the next set of rankings next Tuesday. Of course, we'll be here doing a live stream for those rankings. And then it will be Selection Sunday. We'll have Conference Championship weekend, but the third set of rankings from now will be the final set of rankings. It will be who makes the college football playoff, who makes those New Year's Six bowl games. Things are about to get really, really interesting. Things are truly about to start heating up. And honestly, we couldn't, ask for anything better, right? Like, this is what it's all about. This is what college football is all about, is the opportunity to see some chaos, the opportunity to be fighting for a spot for a national championship, a spot in that coveted Final Four, which, as we know, next year will expand to 12, which, in my opinion, is a good thing. It's going to be nice to have this tournament expanded to 12 teams, because if you look at this year, guys, I mean, so many quality teams are going to end up missing out on the playoff this year. That wouldn't if it was expanded to 12. I mean, we have the capability of seeing a lot of chaos. You could see a very good Florida State team miss out if they suffer one loss, whether that's this weekend to Florida or maybe it's an ACC championship to Louisville. Florida State will miss out. A team like Louisville, who maybe could win out and beat Florida State, will probably not get in, even at 12-1. Would probably end up missing out due to that really bad loss to Pittsburgh in a 12-team playoff. They'd be in. Missouri would be in a 12-team playoff. Alabama or Georgia could miss out this year, depending on what happens down the road with the SEC championship. One of them could miss out. I don't think any of us would argue that they're both playoff caliber and deserve their shot at a national title. So this is a very, very, very interesting year. And this is going to be the first set of the first playoff, I feel like, in the 10-year history, roughly 10-year history, that is actually going to be suspenseful and chaotic on Selection Sunday. These last few years, we've entered Selection Sunday, and you'd be like, we know who the top four are going to be. The only thing we have to worry about is maybe who the order will be, what the ranking will be. But we always knew who those four teams were going to be. This year, unless things really just kind of go chalk from now until Selection Sunday, and that includes conference championships, I think we're going to see a lot of chaos. We, again, are just minutes away from the next set of rankings. We're going to view our live reaction to those rankings, and then we will, of course, take your calls and your comments in the chat as we progress to the live stream tonight. But in the meantime, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like the stream. Hit that like button as you come into the live stream tonight, guys, whether you're watching now, whether you're watching later. Every single like goes a very, very long way. We appreciate all of your support. Helps us boost those analytics. Helps more people find our channel. Also, check out everything down in the description below. You got our ESPN ticker there and our description that has some very, very good offers and insight for you guys, including our holiday special when it comes to college football spread picks. Our holiday special, guys, the special deal we're running for you guys. It will give you every conference championship spread pick, every single bowl game spread pick, from the worst bowl game to the best bowl game, every single bowl game spread pick, and every single NFL playoff game spread pick. So a lot of postseason football that we are giving you guys for a very, very low price. We've hit over 60% of our bets this year. We've hit over 60% of our postseason bets each of the last 5 years. We're going to do it again this year. Gridiron guarantee. It's what we do. We win. And how do we win? We win because we're one of the best in the business. And we're trying to give you those opportunities to win with us with low prices that no other handicapper or site is going to give you. So the holiday special down in the description below over on thegridironexpert.com. Go sign up for those today. We are 5 sales away from reaching our goal for the year. I believe we can hit it. I genuinely do. Tell your friends, tell your family. It's a great Christmas gift as well. It's a great Christmas gift as well if you are so inclined. Give it to your loved one. It's a gift that keeps on giving, truly. Robert says, win the 24-hour live stream. Robert, we'll get a 24-hour live stream when we get 5 more sales. That's all we need. That includes holiday special sales as well. Again, minutes away from the next set of college football playoff rankings. We have our top 4 right here. Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State. And that's kind of the big question we're looking at tonight, right? Is I expect the top three in the committee's rankings to stay the same. Georgia dominated Tennessee. They will not get bumped from the 1 spot. Ohio State dominated Minnesota. I believe the committee will keep them at 2. Michigan on the road against Maryland will stay at 3. The question is, who is 4? Does Florida State maintain that number 4 spot? Florida State, keep in mind, guys, has been ranked above Washington this entire time. Washington has been stuck at number 5. But was Washington's road victory over Oregon State enough to jump over Florida State, who only beat North Alabama and lost their star quarterback in Jordan Travis for the year? Keep in mind, the committee is not supposed to take into account injuries. You can't look at Florida State and go, well, now they don't have Jordan Travis, we're going to drop them because they probably won't be as good without them. You can't assume things. They lose to Florida this weekend, okay, good, they're out. They lose to Louisville next week, okay, fine, they're out. But you can't just base it off an injury. Say they lost their quarterback, we're done with them. So does the committee give Washington, who owns the edge in every metric over Florida State, the edge at number 4? They own the strength of schedule. They own more quality wins. They give them that. Or do they keep the Seminoles steadfast at number 4 and keep the Huskies out? Which then begs the question, if Georgia wins the SEC, if Ohio State wins the Big Ten, if Florida State wins the ACC, does Washington get in if they win the Pac-12? Obviously, you think they would. Michigan would fall out, but could create a little bit of chaos and people sweating it out a little bit come Selection Sunday. Again, I want to welcome everybody to the stream tonight. Minutes away from the next set of college football playoff rankings. Our live analysis and reaction to that coming up right now. And then, of course, we'll be taking your calls and your comments all throughout the night. So your calls right here on the show. We've got our phone right here. We're going to be ready for it. We're going to take your questions in the chat as well. If you're a little too shy, camera shy, don't want to join, that's okay. Make sure to like the stream, though, guys. We appreciate every single one of you that's here tonight. Make sure to like this live stream. Every single like counts. And subscribe if you're new. We appreciate you guys being here at the Gridiron Expert. We post college football content every single day, year-round. Not just August to December. Year-round college football content. And we also have some of the best spread picks when it comes to college football. We've got our holiday special down in the description below, one of the lowest prices in the country. That holiday special gets you every conference championship spread pick, every bowl game spread pick, and every NFL playoff game spread pick as well. No other website's going to offer you those games for as low of a price as we're offering, and no other website can guarantee the winnings that we will give you, which is a guaranteed winning record, guaranteed over 60% on those bets. We're hitting over 60% of our bets this year. We're going to do it in the postseason, just like we've done each of the last 5 years. Every single year in the postseason, over 60%. It's what we do. It's the Gridiron Guarantee. Go check it out. 5 sales equals 24-hour live stream. 5 more sales, 24-hour live stream. How about that? We'd love nothing more than to get to that point. So go check it out. Again, the link for it down in the description below. We put out a poll earlier, a resounding poll answers from you guys, giving Washington the edge at number 4. Resounding. Washington over Florida State, which I found interesting, considering the committee has had Florida State above the Huskies the whole time. Although I agree with you, many of your counterparts agree with you. So again, we project the top 4. This is what we project it to be. That's what you mind. It's college football playoff. That's what we believe it will look like. I believe the committee will drop Florida State out and will bump Washington in. That's what I think will happen. Georgia stays at 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, and Washington 4. And then obviously, like we mentioned in our GE rankings, guys, things are going to start to work itself out. If you're not a fan of how the rankings are shaping out tonight, give rivalry week some time. Michigan and Ohio State obviously have to play each other. The winner of that game is going to the playoff because the winner of that game is not losing to Iowa, right? It's not happening. So Ohio State, Michigan, whoever wins goes to the playoff. Done. That's one team. Georgia and Alabama, the winner of that, I think, is in. That's SEC championship. Barring a loss by either team this Saturday, whether it's Georgia, Georgia Tech, or Alabama to Auburn, don't really see that happening either. We'll come back to that in a second. We've got our next set of rankings in. Liberty, how about that? Give Liberty some credit. The Flames finally in the top 25. About dang time. We've got them in our top 22, I believe. But Liberty in at 25. Clemson back in the rankings. Many will disagree with that, but Clemson's actually been pretty hot right now. 2 ranked wins over Notre Dame and North Carolina. Playing pretty solid ball. Has an opportunity to finish at 8-4. I'm not actually that upset about that. Clemson was our first team out in our last set of rankings. Tulane up a spot to 23, so still pretty low. in the playoff top 25. That's correct. I'm pretty sure they were higher than that because I thought they were. But they remain at 23. NC State only the tiebreaker over Clemson, obviously going to be at 22. And then Tennessee at 21st is an absolute joke. I don't. That's an absolute joke. That to me is showing that they're holding on to Tennessee in the top 25 to benefit Georgia and Alabama. And we'll get to Tennessee in a second. But to be ranked 21st at 7-4 after blowout losses to Missouri and Georgia and Alabama, absolute joke. And we'll touch more on that later. Oklahoma State up 3-20. Okay. Kansas State, Notre Dame, Iowa down 1 following the win over Illinois, and Oregon State down 5 following the loss to Washington, which to me is a little harsh to move 5 spots down, losing by 2 points in a heavy weather game to the Washington. I'm not sure I fully agree with that in its entirety. You move Tennessee down like 3 spots after getting blown out against Georgia, and you need to drop Oregon State down 5. Doesn't make any sense to me. I'm fine with Notre Dame at 18. I'm fine with Kansas State at 19. Wildcats being above Oklahoma State is interesting because they did lose the head-to-head. I feel like I know Oklahoma State has a couple other bad losses, but I just feel like if you're going to consistency, man, we got to be consistent. That's interesting to me. Arizona up 2 into the top 15. I'm actually okay with that. I think they actually could make the argument Arizona could be higher. They're playing phenomenal ball right now. They have like 5 ranked, like 4 of the last 5 games they've won have been over ranked opponents. They just annihilated a solid Utah team who they're 7-4. Utah's out of the rankings, but Tennessee stays in. Okay. LSU up a spot, Oklahoma, everybody else ahead of them up a spot. That's whatever. That's fine. Ole Miss above LSU, owning head-to-head. Oklahoma still up, following their narrow win over BYU. LSU up a spot as well. One thing you got to keep in mind, guys, is these teams, though, while they're not in the hunt for a playoff spot, they are still in the mix for a New Year's Six bowl game. Probably everybody from Oklahoma up is still in the hunt for a New Year's Six bowl game. And obviously, losses to those teams could open the door for a team like LSU or Arizona to maybe slip in the back door and get into a New Year's Six bowl. And I think you can make the argument more so for Arizona than LSU. The Wildcats, one of the hottest teams in the country right now, playing really, really, really good football. Probably are going to annihilate Arizona State. They'll finish the year at 9-3, kind of an unprecedented year from Jed Fish. Again, 9-3. They missed out on the Pac-12 championship more than likely, but with the chaos that could ensue afterwards, you could see Arizona in the top 13, top 12 by season's end and had that slight hope of slipping into a New Year's Six bowl. I think that would be interesting. Again, want to welcome everybody to the stream as we are prepared to get into the top 10. Make sure to like the stream, comment, subscribe to our channel, guys. We'd love you guys to join us. College football content year-round here at the Gridiron Expert. And also check out our expert picks and holiday special for guaranteed spread pick winnings. Again, the link for that down in the description below. One of the lowest prices in the entire country. Guaranteed 60% winning percentage or better. Gridiron Guarantee. Go sign up. Check it out. No other site's going to give you that. And we're just 5 away from reaching our goal on the year. So we'd appreciate all of your support. And again, if you want to win big this bowl season, especially, you want to win your office pool, your bowl pick'em, things like that, this is a place for you. We can guarantee that you'll win. We can guarantee that. Penn State, again, at 11. Interesting as we prepare to enter the top 10. So far, I'm not highly upset with this set of rankings. I'm not entirely devastated by them. Frustrated with a few spots, which we will again rehash once we're done with the top 10. Louisville staying steadfast. And here's the thing, guys. We're probably not going to see many changes in the top 10. I think the biggest change we'll see is going to be probably that 4-5 spot where you could see Florida State drop to 5 and Washington go up to 4. I think that's probably what you're going to see. Louisville still at 10. Missouri still at 9. The Tigers beat Arkansas this weekend. If they can do that, they will go to a New Year's Six bowl game. How about that for Eli Drinkwitz and his squad? What an impressive run for them. Barely survived Florida. Wouldn't disregard Arkansas, who's god-awful, but would be the most Arkansas thing to do to upset Missouri in a meaningless game for them. So if I'm Missouri, I'm cautious, especially with it on the road, but definitely something to watch out for. Louisville, again, is another team, though, that despite being 10-1, it finds themselves behind Missouri, who's 9-2. I want to know what happens to the Cardinals if they win out. If Louisville wins out against Kentucky and Florida State and wins the ACC at 12-1, do they have a case to make the Final Four? I'm going to say no now because the committee will say, well, Florida State wasn't at full strength. Florida State with a backup quarterback versus Florida State with Jordan Travis isn't going to be as impressive as a victory for Louisville as if Jordan Travis was not hurt. So that's unfortunate if you're a Louisville fan. Alabama remaining at 8, still behind Texas, owning the head-to-head. That's where chaos can ensue as well, right? If both those teams win their respective conferences, are obviously, to me, Alabama's win over Georgia, if they were to win that, is more impressive than a Texas win over Oklahoma State or Oklahoma, Kansas State, whoever they will play. Right now, it would be Oklahoma State. But even though Alabama would have more impressive victories on their resume, Texas owns the head-to-head over the Crimson Tide. So what happens there? What happens there? That's where the committee has to decide. Do they stick with the head-to-head result actually mattering, like it has this entire set of rankings, or do they reverse their course and go, yeah, we valued head-to-head for the majority of the year, but we're going to keep them out now and put Alabama in because of strength of schedule. We'll just pick and choose which week we want to honor that. Oregon remains at 6. Now the moment of truth, right? What's the top 5 look like? The top 3 should remain the same. Top 3 should remain the same. 4, 5, that's what we're looking at here. And that's kind of the biggest question mark. So a lot to discuss. We're going to break it down in deeper detail here in a few moments. We're going to get your live thoughts, your live reactions to everything. Once the top 5 has been revealed, we'll kind of rehash it. We'll have a little therapy session. You guys can call in. We'll do our chat. But again, we got a lot of people on the stream. So we want to welcome you again to the Gridiron Expert. Thank you all for being here tonight for our college football playoff rankings live show. Every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Central Time, we're going to be here. Make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We'd love for you guys to join our GE Nation, where we post college football content every day, year-round. Predictions, analysis, live streams like this. This is where we want you guys to be. This is your home for college football. If you love the sport like we do, this is the place for you. So go ahead and subscribe if you have not already. We'd love to welcome you to our team. We'd love to have you sign up for those expert picks. As we mentioned, I know you guys probably get tired of me saying that, but it goes a long way. Helps fund the channel, and it helps fund your pockets as well because we give you winning picks, and it goes a long way. 5 more of those, and we sit here for 24 hours and do a 24-hour live stream with you. 5 more sales, 24-hour live stream, and we're going to do it probably conference championship weekend. Couldn't ask for a better time than that, right? When we have the Pac-12 championship on Friday, and then a lot of games, conference championships on Saturday as well. So a full 24 hours watching those games with you. Again, sign up today if you have not already, even if it's just the holiday special. So something to watch out for, again, as we mentioned, the top 10 so far has remained unchanged. And ironically, I actually agree with a lot of the rankings so far tonight. If you go back and watch our GE Top 25, which we put out every Monday, my days mixed up, our GE Top 25 rankings that we put out every Monday, we don't have any discrepancies in these rankings. We really don't. There's a few that I have an issue with, and we'll get to those in a second. But after we get the top 5. But the top 10 is the most intriguing thing to me. I want to know what the committee thinks about Louisville if they were to win out. I want to know more than anything what happens to Alabama. That's the biggest thing. If they were to win out over Auburn and Georgia. Could Georgia seriously get left out if they were to lose to Alabama in the SEC championship game? And we'll break this down in more detail. But we got the top 5 now. Georgia at 1. I imagine Michigan will be 3. Ohio State 2, 4, 5 is the question. For Georgia to lose to Alabama, if they did in the SEC championship game, and then miss out on the playoff, that would require the committee to drop them 4 spots in the rankings. Would they do that? No, I don't envision that. But also, you can't keep Georgia in the top 4 and not Alabama. You can't say, yeah, Georgia, we know you lost to Alabama. You're 12-1. It's all good. Alabama, we know you beat Georgia. You're going to be ranked 5th. You can't leave Alabama out of the playoff if they win the SEC at 12-1. You just can't do that. But also, with the strength of the Pac-12, with the Big Ten champion, whether it's Ohio State, Michigan, whoever that may be, possibility of having Texas in there, possibility of having Florida State in there, you can't leave those teams out either. So you can't get 2 SEC teams in unless chaos ensues. Ohio State, Michigan, 2-3. So there you go. The game on Saturday will be number 2 at number 3. Game on Saturday is number 2 at number 3. How about that? Another classic. Another classic between 2 unbeaten teams. Our prediction for that game, by the way, guys, Ohio State, Michigan, coming out tomorrow. Ohio State, Michigan prediction coming out on the channel tomorrow. Set your alarms, 1 p.m. Central Time. Deep analysis video on both teams. Viewing it from both sides. Very excited to see how that pans out. All right, moment of truth here, and then we'll start dissecting. I really feel like it's going to be Washington at 4. Is what my gut says. And it's probably what needs to happen. Not because Jordan Travis got hurt. We're not basing this off of injuries. We're basing it strictly off the fact that Washington owns the edge in every single metric over Florida State. Strength of schedule, better resume, quality win. Washington, guys, has wins over Oregon, Oregon State, Utah. And even though they're no good, they've got another Power 5 victory over Michigan State in dominating fashion on the road. And boom, there you go. Washington at number 4, Florida State at number 5. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is your college football playoff rankings heading in to rivalry weekend. Got this set of rankings. We'll have the next set of rankings next Tuesday after rivalry weekend's over, after Ohio State, Michigan play each other, after Florida State, Florida play each other, after Oregon, Oregon State play each other. Well, those set of rankings will be here at 6 p.m. Central Time, breaking those down with you. And then that's it. Then we've got Selection Sunday. This is it. We are coming down to the end right now when it comes down to these rankings. And obviously, it's interesting here, guys, because Florida State can play their way back in. That's the thing. Like, let's just take the top 5 as it is right now. Georgia wins out, including a win over Alabama. They're number 1. Let's just say Ohio State beats Michigan. Going in order here. Ohio State's 2. Boom. Georgia's 1. Ohio State's 2. Washington wins out, including a win over Oregon. Boom. They move up to 3. As long as Florida State wins out and finishes undefeated, they're 4. That's all they've got to do. That's all they've got to do. So if you're Florida State, I know you're upset getting dropped out of the top 4, but keep in mind that one of the teams in the top 4 is going to lose. Like guaranteed. This Saturday. So you can work your way back in. You could also see Washington lose another game here in about 2 weeks if they were to lose to Oregon. Obviously, that would propel Oregon into the Final Four. That would propel them into the playoff. But don't rule it out. Do not rule it out. So again, this is your college football playoff top 4 as of now. Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and Washington. Let's dissect these for a second. Let's pull them up again on the phone real quick, just so we have them handy. Going backwards here, and then we're gonna open up the phone lines, take your questions, take your calls, and we'll address everything in the chat as well. Don't worry. But again, my biggest gripe right now, honestly, is Tennessee. And look, I know a lot of people will say, "Why are you upset about that? They're 21st. They're not in the hunt for anything. They're not even hunt for a New Year's Six bowl game." I get it. But what kind of message are we sending? What kind of message are we sending to every other team out there? That seriously, who the hell is Tennessee beating? Tell me. What are we trying to tell me? So Utah gets blown out against Oregon, gets blown out against Arizona, who the committee had ranked in their top 25, by the way, has a narrow loss to Washington, and they've got another loss in there somewhere. Oregon State, right? So they've got all four losses to teams that are currently ranked by the committee. All 4 losses ranked by the committee. And one of them was very close on the road against that Washington team they have in the top 4. Tennessee, who have they beaten? Who's their best win? A&M? They got annihilated against a bad Florida team, a Florida team that's 5-6. They got annihilated by Alabama, couldn't even score a touchdown or field goal in the second half. They got annihilated by Missouri, and they got annihilated by Georgia on their home turf. And don't come at me with Georgia's number 1. They're so good. Shut up. Shut up. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If you're going to call yourself a top 25 program, you don't have four massive blowout losses. Massive blowout loss to Florida. Massive blowout loss to Alabama. Massive blowout loss to Missouri. Massive blowout loss to Georgia. It doesn't happen. And you have themselves not 25th, barely hanging on, 21st. They've got them ahead of NC State. Got them ahead of Tulane, the best group of 5 team in the country right now. Got them ahead of Clemson, who I think right now probably would beat Tennessee. Love to see that rematch. And then Liberty, who's undefeated as well, has one heck of an offense. I just don't get it. A lot of you guys saying SEC bias, and I would agree with that. There is SEC bias. There's name brand bias. But also keep in mind, guys, what that does is that strengthens Georgia and Alabama's resume. They continue to – and look, Tennessee's not losing to Vanderbilt, right? Tennessee's not going to lose to Vanderbilt this Saturday. So that ensures that when Georgia and Alabama enter their conference championship next week, they will each have a win probably over a top 20 team. I imagine they'll move Tennessee into the top 20. So Georgia and Alabama both will have a double-digit win over a top 20 team, and that's going to strengthen their resume. That's going to make it look better for those programs. That, in a way, maybe that strengthens their case if Alabama upsets Georgia. Maybe, if you're a Texas fan, I'd be worried. Maybe this is what they're hoping for, right? Alabama wins out, including a win over Georgia, and they go, yeah, we know Texas beat Alabama head-to-head, but look at the rankings. Like, Alabama beat Georgia. They beat a top 20 Tennessee team who's going to be 8-4. Whoop-de-doo. They got Georgia. They got Tennessee. They got – who else? Seriously, who else? That's it, right? I mean, Kentucky, A&M, all their other SEC counterparts. Ole Miss, I guess, would be the best. And that's a double-digit win for Alabama as well. But, I mean, bottom line, guys, is that is atrocious. Why not drop Tennessee out and give the group of 5 some other love? We've got Toledo ranked in our rankings. We've got UNLV ranked in our rankings. Hell, I'd even put Kansas still in the rankings, right? And then you go, why Kansas? Why Kansas? Because they've been doing these games with a third-string quarterback and actually been pretty competitive in the games with a third-string quarterback. As compared to that sorry sack of Joe Milton in Tennessee, who can't complete hardly 50% of his passes, and all he's got is a cannon for an arm. That's all he's got. So congratulations. I mean, look, I got a pretty good arm too. I'm just saying. Doesn't mean I'm God. I mean, come on now. So that's my biggest gripe in the bottom 5, 21st to 25th. Real quick, Fernando, good to see you, my guy. Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate you. Appreciate that super chat and the support, man. It goes a long, long way. Every single dollar helps, man. And I appreciate you, Fernando, and your support all the way from Salem, Oregon. I love it. Big weekend for you guys in Oregon, man. I'm calling it, the Civil War is still in my mind. It's what it's always been, right? Even though we have to remove the name. But very, very excited for that game. Huge for the Ducks, man. They win that. They play Washington. That rematch in the Pac-12 championship going to be absolutely epic. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how the Pac-12 really shapes out over these next couple of weeks. But Fernando, we appreciate you and your support. We appreciate the super chat. Goes a very long way, as we mentioned, and also does not go unnoticed and unappreciated. So thank you. And Mitch as well. Thank you, my guy. Said the rankings are just awful. Make 0 sense. Yeah, they do. They do. And we're going to continue to work our way through that before we open up the phone lines. And Mitch, thank you for your super chat as well. You both coming through clutch tonight. Super chat's always open. Every single dollar pumped right back into the channel. Every single one. It's what keeps us alive is your support. Your support is what keeps us going. I know I sound like a politician when I say that, but it's true. It's true. Going through the other parts, again, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Notre Dame, Iowa. I don't have too many issues with it. It's interesting to me, though, is this, right? Like Kansas State, I actually do have ranked above Oklahoma State, even though they don't own the head-to-head. So I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to be mad at the committee for that. I'd love to hear their reasoning versus mine, right? Like they've got Kansas State ranked 1 spot above the Cowboys. And I know Oklahoma State has some bad losses, right? They've got the blowout loss to South Alabama and UCF, both very, very bad losses as compared to Kansas State, who all of their losses have been pretty close, right? 1 possession to Texas, 1 possession to Oklahoma State, 1 possession to Missouri, all 3 of which are ranked inside the committee's top 20. So I get that. Put Kansas State 19 ahead of them, but an interesting mark there. Notre Dame at 18, okay. probably could finish the year in the top 15 if they can win out, including their bowl game. Top 15, Arizona at 15, LSU, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Penn State. I'm really honestly don't have a horrible gripe. I mean, here's the bottom line: is there's not like this giant gap, right? Like, the bottom parts, yes, there are some issues. I have some issues with the bottom parts, but once you get into the top 15, like I got Arizona ranked 13th. I've got LSU ranked 15th. I've got Ole Miss ranked 14th. So just switching a couple spots there for these teams. I've got Penn State at 11, actually, so I'm not too upset with that. I've got Missouri at 10 and Louisville at 9, so flipped once there. Louisville at 10-1, Missouri at 9-2. So just a few discrepancies there. But I've got Bama at 8. I've got Texas at 7. So, I've got Oregon at 5. They've got them at 6. I've got Florida State at 4. They've got them at 5. I've got Washington at 3. They've got them at 4. So, just a few minor switches there, a few minor flips there from my rankings to theirs. I'm not horribly upset with the way it's structured right now. And kind of like we said in our GE Top 25 video, bottom line, guys, is in theory, it's going to work itself out. But there is the possibility we see some massive chaos over the next couple of weeks. Again, if Texas wins out and Alabama wins out, that sparks chaos. Which team gets into the playoff between Alabama and Texas? The easiest route, and then we'll open up the phone lines, the easiest route for the playoff committee to not have to stress is for, right now, you look at the top 4. Georgia, Ohio State, or Michigan, one of the two. Let's just say Ohio State for now. Georgia, Ohio State, and Washington all went out. They're all going. Those 3 are in. Done. If Florida State wins out, they're in as well. Done. Because a Georgia win over Bama, Bama's out. A Washington win over Oregon, Oregon's out. The winner between Ohio State and Michigan, the loser of that's going to be out. And the team that would probably be the first team out at number 5 would probably be Texas if they win out. 12-1 Texas gets left out. And that's it. So there's a way that we have a very easy selection Sunday where there's not that much stress. But bottom line, guys, it's college football, and we know nothing's not going to be easy, right? Like, it's just not going to happen. We're going to see some upsets over these next couple of weeks that are going to drastically change the course of these rankings. It will work itself out. We'll be breaking down those scenarios with you starting next week, well into conference championship weekend. We'll have a video solely dedicated to multiple playoff scenarios, breaking down who should be in if this happens, who should be in if this happens. Like, we're gonna have you covered. All the more reason to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. To stay tuned for that, because again, no other channel is going to give you that. No other website is going to give you that. 24-hour coverage here, baby. Come on now, and full access to us as well. Come on. All right, let's get to it. Let's go ahead and open up the phone lines. I'm going to answer everything in the chat as well, so don't worry. We will hit the wrong button. We are going to get into your questions, your comments, your thoughts on the committee tonight. Call in number 870-586-6624. Again, we'll try to limit callers to about 5 minutes apiece so we can get to as many of you guys tonight as we can. But again, we're happy to have all of you here. From Clement, Scotty B, the Baylor King, Brady Glassman, my man Matthew Hazelhorst, good to see you. My man Mark, good to see you as well. Happy Thanksgiving, my guy. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I hope you guys are able to get with your friends and family and loved ones and get some good food and some good football. It's like the 4 F's, right? You got food, friends, family, football. And add a 5th one in there, too. Got to have faith, right? Faith, family, football, friends, and food on Thanksgiving, man. That's all you need. That's all you need. But good to see you guys here and appreciate you guys being here. Jerry Turner, good to have you here, my guy. Congratulations on the firing of Dino Babers. I know you and I talked about that. You were ready for him to be gone. He gone. He finally out. And Syracuse still could make a bowl game if they can win their season finale this week. So, I mean, don't count them out, man. I mean, I know it's not the year anybody wanted, but I mean, postseason football is better than no postseason football, right? Like, I'd rather have my team in a bowl game than none at all. But very excited to see who Syracuse hires and ready for that new era of Orange football. Very excited for that. Brady Glassman, as we mentioned, good to see you, Jerry. Fernando, as we mentioned, appreciate you and your support. Inner Focus Entertainment, James Jackson, Tyler Manning. Nice to have you here. My man, Mitch. Who else is here? CS Productions, Eddie Rose. Good to have you all here. Robert, Christian Fernandez, and everybody else who may be watching the stream now, maybe watching later. Our man, DM, always with us, whether he's on the stream or not. We always appreciate DM and his support. He goes a very long way with us as well, all the way back to the very first day his channel started. So, DM, if you're watching, we appreciate you. While the phone line remains open, again, feel free to call whenever. We're going to just start addressing y'all's questions and comments in the chat tonight. Don't worry about that. Derek Valdez, good to see you. And we'll bring up your comments on the screen. The call-in number, if we take it off the screen, is ticking across the bottom, right? So if the big bold one goes away, it's still ticking across the bottom on our ESPN ticker there. Don't worry. It's going to be there. Let's see. A lot of people agreeing with Tennessee being out, 100%. I think we all agree with that. I'm not going to argue anybody on Tennessee being out. CS Productions, we'll start here. Yeah, the loser falls out of the Final Four, like we mentioned, because this is one of the deepest races we've had in a long, long time. This is one of the deeper races when it comes to the Final Four that we've had in a long, long time. So, again, we're using this as an example. Ohio State beats Michigan on Saturday. Let's say, I'm not saying that's who we're picking. That prediction comes out tomorrow. But let's say Ohio State wins. Michigan's going to be out, right, for the time being. Could they work themselves in? Sure. But here's the thing, guys. I mean, bottom line, whether you the way I view it is whether it's Washington or Oregon, unless one of them loses this Saturday to Washington State, Oregon State, the winner of the Pac-12 has to go in. They have to. They have to get in. The winner of the Pac-12 has to get in. If Washington remains undefeated and beats Oregon twice, yeah, they're a lock, right? They're already in the Final Four. They went out. They're in. If Oregon beats Oregon State and then beats Washington in a rematch, I think Oregon's got to get in. They are the best one-loss team in the country. They are better than Texas. They are better than Alabama. And I don't see how you can leave Oregon, a 12-1 Pac-12 champion Oregon team, out. So, again, right now, barring an upset this weekend, and I don't think either team loses to their rival, you've got the Big Ten champion in Michigan, Ohio State is going to be in. The Pac-12 champion's in. Georgia, let's say they beat Bama, they're in. So, yeah, I don't think the Big Ten gets two teams in like they did last year. And I don't think the SEC gets two teams in like they did last year unless everybody else starts to fall apart around them. That would mean Texas loses the Big 12 championship game. That would mean Florida State loses a game to Florida or Louisville. If that happens, the door is open for one of those conferences to get two teams in. But if it doesn't, then no, you will have four different teams in the college football playoff. And for the first time, what feels like forever, we won't have a playoff with two teams from the same conference. So, and I'm not opposed to that. I think it'd be great. What a great way to end the four-team playoff. It was designed to be this way. That'd be a great way for it to go out. Major shout out to my guy, Noah. What's going on, Noah? New Mexico, Noah, right? Come on, man. How about your Aggies? Dude. First off, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the super chat. You and Fernando and Mitch going a long way tonight. You guys, again, help power the channel. The super chats are on 24/7. And again, they go a very, very long way. So we appreciate that. You got my voice hoarse tonight, man. Come on. But again, we really, really appreciate the support that you've shown us over the last few years. Every single dollar goes right back into the channel. I want to touch on your Aggies for a second, then we'll come back. I wish they were ranked. Honestly, I'd put New Mexico State ahead of Tennessee right now, if I'm being honest with you. But give me New Mexico State. You go on the road and annihilate Auburn, just absolutely torch them. That was unbelievable. So congrats on that win. Jerry Kill has done a phenomenal job reviving this program. He gets them to a bowl game last year. That was huge. And then now at 9-3, I mean, 9-3 in the Conference USA Championship. First year in the Conference USA, you're playing for a title against undefeated Liberty. That game's going to be a lot closer than people think because Liberty is good. But as I think it was Jerry said earlier, they haven't played anybody. Liberty is undefeated and probably will finish the year at 12-0. But they haven't played anybody. That doesn't mean they're not a good team. That doesn't mean they're not a good team. But I think New Mexico State gives them one heck of a battle. I really, really do. And I'm just so happy for you, man. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for that program. This program that had been just crapped upon for so long, had just been so bad for so long. I mean, a couple of years ago, they make their first bowl game since like the 1960s. Then they go on a little bit of a drought for a while, and now they're back. Bowl game 2 years in a row. Maybe could win a conference, could win double-digit games this year possibly. I mean, who would have thought? So love to see New Mexico State doing so well. I'm excited for their Conference USA Championship. We're going to be predicting that game here on the channel. We're going to predict every single conference championship game here on the channel. So stay tuned for that. Next week is Conference Championship week, and we're going to have you covered every single day, breaking down the biggest games all week long. But, man, I'm pumped. And if we get 5 more sales, if we get 5 more expert pick sales, we'll be watching that game live with you, because we're going to do our 24-hour live stream Friday, like starting Friday night and all the way through Saturday. So we'll do like a 24-hour live stream. We'll get to watch the Conference USA Championship all the way through the Pac-12, all the way through the ACC Championship. It'll be a 24-hour deal. It's going to be awesome. But again, Noah, thank you so much for the support. Congrats, and enjoy it, man. Enjoy the ride. This is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime type of deal, at least for us. It's the first time in our lifetime, right, that we've seen New Mexico State play this good of football. So enjoy it. Relish it. I'm pumped for you. And again, thank you a lot for the support. All right, let's keep going here. We went through CS production. Again, phone lines were open, 870-586-6624. That is the number to call. Let's see who else we've got in here. Let's see. Jerry, we appreciate you. Nothing like a GE Tuesday. I couldn't agree more. I love these live streams, man. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun getting to talk with you guys. Clement says the committee got at least the top 5 rankings right for a change. Almost. He had me in the first half. Just flip Michigan at 2 and Ohio State at 3. So Clement's got Michigan ahead of Ohio State. And that's kind of the thing, right? Like I agree with you. I have Michigan at number 2 in my rankings as well. I still believe that right now Michigan has been the most arguably dominant, most efficient team in the country from start to finish. And that counts for something. Obviously should count for something. We're getting a call, so let's bring them on. But obviously, all that's going to be decided this Saturday when they play Ohio State. So, I mean, bottom line is, whether you're upset with Michigan at 2, you're happy with Michigan at 2, you're upset with them at 3, it's all going to get resolved by like 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. So that's what I like about these rankings for the time being. We've got Danny on the line. What's going on, Danny?
Hey, how's it going? It's been a while, but what an exciting weekend.
Oh, man, couldn't ask for anything better. It's cupcake weekend, as we call it, and yet those weekends where games typically aren't supposed to be as good, that's when you see the most upset. So I loved every second of it, man.
Yeah, man. First of all, I loved our win against USC, and just felt so great for Chip, with all the firing rumors to, get that big win. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I had a scenario for you, and I just want to know what you think of it, because I think it's very realistic. So I'm just going to lay it out right here. Let's say Michigan, Ohio State, winner of that game is 13-0, and they'll be number 1. Then Florida State, let's say they win their next 2 games and go 13-0, even without Jordan Travis. Then Oregon, 12-1, wins the Pac-12, and Alabama, 12-1, wins the SEC, and finally Texas, 12-1, wins the Big 12. In this scenario, would the SEC miss the playoffs?
Danny, in theory, yes, they should, because if the committee, like they've done since these rankings began a few weeks ago, if they truly honor the head-to-head, then Texas should get in over Alabama. Even though a Texas Big 12 championship, more than likely they're going to play Oklahoma State. Obviously, a win over Oklahoma State is not nearly as impressive as Alabama taking down Georgia. Obviously, Bama would own, I think, across the board, more quality victories. And I think they'd honestly own a better resume. They'd have double-digit wins over Ole Miss, Tennessee, LSU, and then Georgia. They beat Georgia. But, again, if you honor the head-to-head, which in theory should be the biggest thing that matters, Texas should get in, and you would have Ohio State, Florida State, or Ohio State or Michigan, Florida State, Oregon, and Texas. So, yeah, the SEC would be left out. But that's kind of what we were saying at the beginning of the stream. Is my gut is saying that with the committee leaving Tennessee as high as number 21, leaving them in there, to me, that really opens the door for the committee to use that as reasoning. Like if Alabama were to win out, for them to say, yeah, we know Texas won head-to-head, but look at Bama's resume is a little bit stronger. Let's put them in, even though they lost.
Right. So you think they would put them in over Texas? Because I was thinking, I just don't see how they would want to leave the SEC out. And maybe they would, if they wanted to honor the head-to-head record, they would put in Texas and Alabama and then leave out Oregon, even though I think Oregon has played great and their only loss was a very good loss. But you think they would just put Bama over Texas and ignore the head-to-head?
I think that's a very likely possibility because you're right. The committee is not going to leave out an SEC team. And that's another area you have to be concerned about, too. To throw you they kind of switch things up a little bit, the possibility of Alabama beating Georgia and still getting left out and Georgia staying in. Would the committee really drop Georgia, especially let's say Georgia lost by 3 to Alabama, comes down to a game-winning field goal. Are they really going to drop the Bulldogs 4 spots for losing by 3 at the last second to an Alabama team that's in the top 8? I don't know. I don't think they would. How could you leave them out? So
it would be so hard to put them in over a conference champion though with the same record, right?
Exactly, it would be, and that's what wouldn't make any sense, right? But we've seen that happen before, where you've seen teams fail to win their conference championship or completely miss out on their conference championship and get in. Wasn't it back in, 2016? That was like Penn State and Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship, and like Ohio State still managed to get into the playoff without even having to play,
right.
So.
Or even last year.
Yeah, last year. I mean, obviously Ohio State was a one-loss team. Michigan won the East, and they still slipped in as that 4th seed. So. And that's the issue that we've run into this year, though, is in recent years, we haven't had this deep of a race. It just, you've maybe had 5 or 6 teams that are kind of in the mix. This year, the top 8 teams right now all have legitimate shots at making the playoff. That's the deepest we've seen the playoff be, especially at this point in the season, which is why I think the committee is going to be kind of screwed. Like with your scenario that you just gave us, they're going to be screwed. You can't make everybody happy. Someone's going to be the team missing out. But also money talks. And sometimes when you've got a group of people making these decisions that don't really know football all that well, but they know money, that starts to speak a little bit louder than the actions on the field. So I know that sounds political, but we've seen it happen before, and I wouldn't be shocked to see it happen again.
Right. And, this is luckily the last year we could have a very deserving team get left out. But I just think it would be a shame for any of those teams. I mean, if Alabama beats Georgia, it would be so brutal for them to be left out. But any of those other teams, all would deserve it. I think the easiest way this situation could work out would be if Florida State just drops the game now that Jordan Travis is out. But I don't know. I could see them winning those last 2 games, and then we might end up in this spot. So anyway, I'll let you go, but I love the show and so excited for the playoff.
Hey, right back at you, Danny. We are ecstatic. We're going to have you covered every step of the way. Congrats on the big win for UCLA. I know program seems to be in a bit of a state of turmoil right now with the Chip Kelly rumors, but excited to see what the future holds, man.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Have a good one.
All right, you too, Danny. Appreciate you. All right, that was our man, Danny Parsons, all the way from UCLA. Mitch, I think you just tried calling in. Give us a call back, my guy. It's hard to get those calls going at the same time, and he's calling in right now. But, Danny, thank you for the call. Great scenario and a very possible scenario as well. That would cause a little bit of sweat and anxiety on Selection Sunday, which for me, I'm all for. We need to see some drama on Selection Sunday. We've never seen that before within the college football playoff committee. When you think about it, like we said, that the top 4 teams have always traditionally been pretty cut and dry. There hasn't been much drama there. We'll get into those scenarios a little bit more later. But for now, we got Mitch on the line. What's going on, Mitch?
Not much. How about yourself?
Hey, not much, man. We're just trying to work through these. I think I'll call them mediocre rankings.
No, to me, they're trash rankings. I can't freaking believe that they had K-State over Oklahoma State when Oklahoma State literally beat K-State. Like, that makes zero sense.
Yeah, I think it's the funny thing, right? It's like if you break it down in like segments of 5, right? Go through like the top 5, then 6 to 10. It's like each section has its own criteria. So from like 20 to 15, it's like head to head doesn't really matter that much for us, but when we get into the top 8, it does. And that's kind of my thing too, right? I am an advocate for head to head results. I think the reason the committee's got Kansas State ranked ahead of them, even though it's only by 1, that's my biggest issue. That's only by 1, not multiple. Is obviously Oklahoma State has worse losses. They had a 42-point beat down to a mediocre UCF team, and then that blowout loss to South Alabama, I think, looms large. But you're right, the head-to-head between two teams that have the exact same record, you would think would mean something.
Yeah, I don't know. That just really irritated me, and I also got to ask you: do you believe if Louisville wins out and beats Florida State in the ACC championship that they should deserve to be in the playoffs?
I think they deserve to be. I think they deserve to be in the conversation. The thing is, if you're a Louisville, I think I'd love to see him in there. I'll start with that. I'd love to see him in there. The problem is Louisville doesn't stand a chance, and here's why. They've got too much working against them from a committee standpoint. The committee is going to look at Louisville and say, congrats, you are, what would you be? You'd be a 12-1 ACC champion. You beat a top 4, top 5 Florida State team in the ACC title, but that Florida State team didn't have their starting quarterback. While that shouldn't matter, while they should not hold that over Louisville's head, they will. And they'll look at Louisville's lone loss, which was by 17. It wasn't even close. 17 points on the road to a very bad Pittsburgh team. Those two things work very badly against Louisville's favor as compared to other one-loss teams, such as maybe a Texas and Alabama and Oregon, teams like that. Louisville currently is within the top 9, the top 9, top 10, the worst one-loss team. And they're not even bad. They're a good team. But they have the worst resume and the worst thing going for them as compared to Oregon, Texas, or Alabama.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you there. And I also think that Oregon State has a chance to defeat Oregon on the road. I think it's Friday night or Saturday, whichever one. But I think Oregon State stands a chance, and I think it'd be pretty cool if both Washington and Oregon got upset by their opposing in-state rivals.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about chaos. That would create a lot of chaos. And the funny thing about that is, it would be more devastating for Oregon than Washington because Oregon's still a good team. So, like, Oregon loses, they're out of the playoff discussion. There's no way they get in, even if they beat Washington in the Pac-12 championship. Assuming they get in there, they're not even a lock to go if they lose to Oregon State. Washington could maybe flirt with it still. You lose to Washington State, you win the Pac-12 championship, you're a one-loss conference champ, just like maybe Alabama, Texas, Louisville. They're in the hunt. But losing to a bad Washington State team, a 5-6 Washington State team, would be devastating. So you probably end up seeing both teams get left out, which would open the door for, maybe someone like Texas, Alabama, or maybe even Louisville if they can win out.
Yeah, that'd be pretty crazy. And yeah, that basically wraps up my discussion or argument. I just think the rankings just aren't. I just think they're pretty inconsistent. Like head to head, I think head to head matters more than anything, really. Like I just don't understand how you could put a team above a certain team with the same record when one team beat the other. It just makes no sense.
Yeah, it's the one thing I have an issue with rankings is like, so let's take, for example, like at the time, Oklahoma State had beat Oklahoma. They were like in the top 15. Kansas State was hovering around 20th, or maybe they were under, I don't know where they were at the time. So like obviously Oklahoma State had this huge gap there, but then they suffered such a bad loss, like not just a normal one possession loss to UCF, like 42 points. And I think that margin of victory and how bad the team looked played a major role there. So it was like, yes, even though Oklahoma State did beat Kansas State, like the gap between the two in that moment when Oklahoma State lost was so large. Like they plummeted, Kansas State rose up. Like it's hard to gauge it. But I agree. Bottom line is, like, especially with a team like Texas and Alabama, let's say they're fighting for that fourth spot. I don't see how you could put Alabama in over Texas when Texas literally beat them. You're right. The greatest measuring stick between two teams when you're deciding between them is who's better than the other. Well, you measure that by making them play. Sometimes you don't get to see them play. They're in different conferences. They just didn't schedule each other, so you have to base it off a resume, similar opponents, whatever. But if they have played, that's your measuring stick. And so why would you differ from that? How can you say, oh, we think Alabama's better than Texas when Texas literally beat Alabama? Same in your scenario. How can you say Kansas State's better than Oklahoma State when Oklahoma State literally beat them?
It's pretty stupid to me. But anyways, I hope you and your family have a great Thanksgiving, and let's go Cyclones. Let's get that win on Saturday versus K-State.
Hey, absolutely, man. Mitch, you have a great Thanksgiving too, man. We'll be watching your Cyclones this weekend, and looking forward to seeing the chaos unfold, man. But you have a great rest of your week.
All right, you too, man.
All right, it's our man Mitch there, big Iowa State fan. Appreciate the call, Mitch. Thank you so much for the support and for the call. Great insight. And that's kind of thing, right? Like, rankings are so. I know we're getting another call. How about that? The phone lines are popping tonight. It's about time. Don't let me forget. I've got a discussion on rankings. Bear with me. But let's go to the phone lines. All right, let's get him on here. Phone's going dark on me. Get him on speaker. Jeez, come on now. All right, I think I heard this correctly. Is this Nick?
Yeah, what's up, bro?
Hey, what's going on, Nick? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How you doing, bro?
Doing good. It's been a while. I haven't talked to you in a hot minute.
Yeah, it's been forever. Damn.
Has it been a hot minute? Yeah. So what's going on? What's on your mind tonight?
Not much. My Dogs rolled on Tennessee. I knew that was gonna happen. We get our 28th consecutive win. This week is the third. We're gonna beat up on them. So doing good. I'm not worried about nobody on our schedule. I'm not worried about Alabama whatsoever.
Really?
Carson Beck playing phenomenal.
So you
crazy. So
you're not worried about Alabama and I agree. You'll breeze past Georgia Tech, right? Nothing to worry about there. But you face an Alabama team that's getting hot at the right time. You're not worried about them at all.
No.
Why?
I just don't think Gabriel's that good of a thrower. Now, he can run. He's a great athlete. To me, he's Anthony Richardson. That's what he is to me.
Okay.
Has a great deep ball. Has a phenomenal deep ball. Can run like crazy. Like, he has Lamar Jackson kind of speed. But he can't read a defense. Like, he can't throw the intermediate passing game.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I will give them credit on this. I'm pretty sure, and if they get the ball first, they're going to score. Everybody scores on Georgia on the first play. I don't know why that's happening, but everybody seems to do it.
I would say it's probably a mix of Georgia coming out a little sluggish, man. They're not fully awake when the game starts, and then when that team scores on the opening play or the opening drive, it's kind of like a little pop in the mouth, and it's like, oh crap, we got to wake up and play. We can't sleepwalk through these games anymore. Not that I think Kirby's ever had his team sleepwalking, but I think that's kind of what they've been up against.
Yeah. But I want to talk about this Michigan-Ohio State game, man. So, question. If Ryan Day loses to Sherrone Moore, do you think it's going to get hotter in Columbus if he loses? He doesn't lose to Jim Harbaugh, but he loses to an offensive coordinator. And Michigan, do you think it's time for them to start making plays, giving JJ the control of the offense, and them start throwing the ball? Because to me, what they did against Penn State, that wasn't good. You can't not throw a pass at all in the second half. That was just crazy to me.
Well, I think that wasn't a shot on JJ, and that was, if anything, that was actually really impressive by Michigan. It wasn't a matter of them like scared to throw or anything like that. It was the fact that Penn State couldn't stop the run. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Michigan was dominating the line of scrimmage in that game, and Penn State had no answer for the rushing attack. And so Michigan was like, look, until they prove that they can stop us, until they can prove that they will not allow us to pick up 4 or 5 yards per rush, we're going to keep running the ball. There's no need in risking an interception, a sack, a fumble, anything like that. Let's just go. Let's just run. So yeah, they ran it like 17 straight times or whatever. It was obviously a good method as well in terms of killing the clock. I think Michigan viewed that as an opportunity to waste time, and they had a lot of faith in their defense. But I don't think that was a shot on J.J. McCarthy. I think it was just more of a good tactic by Michigan. To answer your second question about Ryan Day, yeah, I think that the seat gets really, really hot in Columbus if he loses this Saturday. And a lot of people would say it's ridiculous. Ohio State is how many other games? They've lost like 8 or 9 games if that under Ryan Day. But bottom line is the standard in Columbus is so much higher than that anywhere else, right? Or at your average university. Ohio State expects to win against Michigan, and they expect to win national championships, or at least be contending for them. And this would mark a 3rd straight loss to Michigan. If Ohio State loses this game, they're not slipping into the playoff like they did last year because of teams like Texas, Alabama, Oregon, teams like that are they're going to be one-loss possible conference champions, of which Ohio State would not have. So 3 straight losses to your biggest rival, no national titles, only 1 national championship appearance where you got blown out by Alabama. I don't know who Ohio State could go out and hire that's better than Ryan Day. I don't know who they would expect to go hire that could come in and continue to win this high of a level. But the product and the result is definitely unacceptable in Columbus if he were to lose on Saturday.
Yeah, it would be. What I've been impressed with is Ohio State defense. They've gotten a lot better, especially on that side of the ball. Do you see Jim Knowles maybe leaving this year? Going to an NFL team or a different school?
No, I think Jim Knowles, he's a bona fide defensive coordinator. He's never going to be anything else in the sense of being like going to a head coach position or anything. I think obviously Knowles wanted to go to a team that had some elite talent and a team that maybe gave him a shot to win a national championship. And while Oklahoma State was great a few years ago, they weren't going to win national title, and they're not going to win national title anytime soon. So I think Knowles knows Ohio State or an elite program like that is where he needs to be to give himself the best opportunity to win. He's also getting on up there in age. He's, not necessarily super, super young by any means. So making a move to an NFL program or anything like that just isn't happening. So the only way Jim Knowles is not in Columbus next year is if Ryan Day gets fired and the entire staff has to go with him.
Yeah, I think Ryan Day more like this is my first man. I would love to see Ryan Day in the NFL. I think him and Lincoln Riley set him in the NFL mode.
Yeah, I think it's tough to make that transition from college to pro, especially or vice versa from a coaching standpoint. Riley, if you want my honest opinion, I don't think he's all that great of a coach. He's benefited from great. Riley is basically Cliff Kingsbury 2.0. I mean, if you think about it. He's a great offensive mind. He can work well with a good offense and talented offenses, but as a head coach, probably not cut out for the job. Ryan Day, I do think he's a solid head coach. I genuinely do. But obviously his inability to beat Michigan and his inability to win the big games is what's holding him back.
Yeah, it is. 2 more questions and I'll let you go, man. So can you try to explain the Big 12 championship race to me? So Texas, they didn't clinch the Big 12 title game against Iowa State, right?
No, they have not clinched it yet.
So they have to beat Texas Tech. So can Oklahoma still get in the Big 12 title game? Oklahoma State, I'm kind of confused on that.
Yeah, they can. It's just going to take a lot of chaos. So right now, Texas is solely in first place. Texas wins, they're in, no doubt about it. Because they only have 1 conference loss, which was to Oklahoma. Behind them, they've got like a 3-way tie with Oklahoma State. I think it's Oklahoma State, Kansas State, and Oklahoma. If the season were to end right now, it would be Texas versus Oklahoma State because the Cowboys own the tiebreaker over both Kansas State and Oklahoma. So Oklahoma can still get in, but for that to happen, they're going to need Kansas State to lose to Iowa State. They're going to need Oklahoma State to lose to BYU, and then Oklahoma's going to have to beat TCU. And just to be honest with you, I don't envision any of that happening. I think Oklahoma beats TCU, but I don't think Oklahoma State loses to BYU in Stillwater. And there you go. It's done. So as long as if Texas wins and Oklahoma State wins, that's your Big 12 championship.
I was just kind of confused on that. Like didn't they close the tiebreaker already?
Yeah, you would have thought that being seventh in the country, only a one-loss team. But the thing is, if Texas were to lose to Texas Tech somehow, then they've got 2 conference losses along with Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Oklahoma. And then you've got this giant possible 4-way tie for 2 spots. And it would then you have to go start head-to-head tiebreakers. Oklahoma would own the head-to-head over Texas, who would own the head-to-head over Kansas State. Like it would get really, really messy. So that's where if Texas loses, that's where chaos ensues. But if they don't, you're fine.
Okay. How do you see this last question? How do you see Michigan's defense trying to at least try to slow down Marvin Harrison Jr. or Trevion Henderson?
Well, I mean, their secondary has been really, really good. I mean, this is a battle between 2 of the top defenses in the entire country. I think the biggest thing for Michigan is they're facing a quarterback in Kyle McCord that's really, really good. I think is impressed in his first year as a starter, but is now going to be playing in the toughest environment that he's faced his entire career. I know he played in the South Bend against Notre Dame. I know he played in Madison against Wisconsin. The Big House, entirely different. So, if you're Michigan, you're relying on your home crowd to rattle the young quarterback. You're relying on your defensive line to create pressure on the young quarterback and force him into some mistakes. And the biggest thing, too, for Michigan more than anything is just don't get beat deep. Just if you can keep those receivers in front of you and limit the big time like home run plays, Michigan's going to be fine. It becomes an issue when Ohio State starts hitting on big chunk plays. That's where you start to get worried. So honestly, I think Michigan defensively owns the slight edge over Ohio State. It's very, very close, but they've got it. You pair that with a couple of turnovers from a young quarterback, and Michigan's going to be fine.
And I was listening to Joe Platt too, bro. He was talking about Michigan's offensive line getting dinged up and injured against the Maryland game. And he said that's a huge advantage for Ohio State defensive line because they got 2 passers. Is it Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau? Yeah, correct. I got some injuries a little bit banged up there. I'm still not that worried about it, though. Okay. Appreciate the call, dude. Go Dogs, bro.
Hey, appreciate you, Nick. Good talking to you, man. All right. Our man Nick, not too far from my neck of the woods, unless he's moved. But Nick, thank you for the call, man. It was great to hear your voice again. Great to have you back on the air with us. It's been, like I said, way too long since we had you on one of our call-in shows. So pumped to have you. And look at that, we got another caller. Let's keep it going. And then we'll take a little break and we'll go to the chat. I know we got a lot of questions and comments from the chat, but let's take this call while we're at it. Let's see if I can get him on here. Jeez, phone's giving me a lot of issues tonight.
All right, can you hear me?
All right, we're on the Gridiron Expert. Who's with us?
This is DeMar from all the way from Texas. DeMar Washington. How you doing?
Hey, DeMar. Doing good, man. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. So I got 2 questions for you, man. 2 questions for you.
Yeah, lay it on me.
All right. So first question is, now the statement the other guy made before the other guy was on the phone, he was stating that if Alabama does beat Georgia, do you really think they're going to leave Georgia out of the playoffs just because it was a good game? Let's say it was a good game against Alabama. Alabama went 5-3. Do you think necessarily they're going to leave Georgia out since they was the number 1 team all the way leading up to this point? Or
yeah, I think that's going to be a really tough spot for the committee because to me, if Georgia loses to Alabama, Alabama has to get in. You can't say, yeah, we're going to leave Georgia in. Alabama, we know you beat them. You're still out. So Alabama's got to get in. But at the same time, that would require the committee to drop Georgia 4 spots. They're saying, hey, you lost to a top 8, top 7 team by 3 points in a close game but we're going to drop you completely out of the playoff. I just don't see them doing that. Do I think they should? Do I think they should? Yeah, probably. When you look at the state of the Big Ten, knowing Michigan or Ohio State should get in, knowing Washington or Oregon should get in, if Florida State goes undefeated, they should get in. Like, I don't see how you can justify leaving Georgia in there. But at the same time, knowing how they've treated Georgia over the last couple of years, granted they've been a great team, I don't, and how they've ranked teams over the last month, I don't see any way they drop Georgia 4 spots for a narrow loss.
Narrow loss, yeah. And then, the second question that I have for you. So Texas plays Tech this week, okay? So with the committee going into the conference championship the week after, I know Oregon has played Texas Tech, and Oregon won 38-30. So leading up to the next week, if Texas does, let's say, blows out Texas Tech this week, wouldn't you think that they will put Texas over Oregon or for the number 6 spot going into the Big 12 championship?
I don't think the committee is going to look at that. That's actually a really good point that I hadn't even thought about, the fact that Texas and Oregon would both have a common opponent there. But more than anything, assuming Texas beats Texas Tech, assuming Oregon beats Oregon State, I think it's going to come down to that conference championship. It's going to come down to, because here's the thing. Texas has an easier path, right? Texas should beat Texas Tech, and they really probably should beat Oklahoma State versus Oregon, who's going to play a good Oregon State team and then has a rematch against Washington. So the path is a lot tougher there. So I don't think they're really going to hold that common opponent very highly between the two. If you're fighting between putting one of them in, I don't think the Texas Tech game is going to matter. What's ultimately going to matter, really, if you're a Texas fan, is you're praying that Oregon loses to Oregon State or Washington. Then you don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's probably the only thing. Okay, man. No. I just wanted to ask those 2 questions. That's all that I really had. And I subscribe to you, man. I just followed you because I think you came up on YouTube for me. So I was like, oh, okay, let me click on your thing, man. So, but I subscribe to you and everything else, man. You're doing some good stuff, man. Good stuff.
All right, DeMar, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining the GE Nation, man. We're happy to have you, and really appreciate the support and the first-time caller. Love to have it.
All right, thank you so much. You have a good day.
Hey, you too, DeMar. Thank you, man. All right, look at that. GE Nation just gained another subscriber. DeMar, thank you for the call, man. We appreciate you and your support. Glad you were able to find us. Hope you spread the word about the channel and what we're building here, man. We that's how we do it. We word of mouth, and I guess the YouTube algorithm finally did something for us today. So, DeMar, again, thank you for the first-time call. Thank you for jumping in, and great questions there as well. Really good stuff, all the way from Texas. All right, phone lines will remain open for the time being, but until then, we're going to address everything down in the chat right now. We'll see what you guys got going on. Let's see here. We'll get going here. Brady, my thoughts on Northwestern going bowling under a coach with no head coaching experience 2 months before the season. Unbelievable, man. Braun has done an unbelievable job with Northwestern. This team was left for dead. Now, granted, look, Braun was a great defensive-minded coach. Came over from North Dakota State. He knows what he's doing. That program breeds head coaches, right? They breed winners. I mean, Chris Kleiman was a coordinator, or was the head coach, at North Dakota State. Look what he's doing at Kansas State. I believe Craig Bowl over at Wyoming used to coach at North Dakota State. Started to get that dynasty going with the Bison, and now is doing well at Wyoming. And Braun, the same thing. But Northwestern, 1-11 last year, left for dead. All of these allegations, all of these distractions right before the season starts. Everybody was like, look, they got to have a placeholder coach. Let's just survive this year, then we'll go find our guy. He was the guy. Nobody saw Northwestern going bowling this year. And if you said you did, you're lying to yourself. So I love it. I love that he is now the permanent coach at Northwestern, that the interim tag was removed for him, rightfully so. They have been one of the more encouraging stories and just fun stories in all of college football this year. Are they getting enough attention for it? No, because they're not Big Ten title contenders or anything like that. But I am pumped to be watching them in a bowl game here in a few weeks. They deserve a lot of praise, a lot of credit. Braun engineered all of that. And credit to the players, too, for buying in, man. They could have just phoned it in. They could have, Pat Fitzgerald's guys, they could have been like, we've lost our coach. The season's done for. We give up. And they didn't. They bought in to what he was selling. They made the most of it. Now, look, they're going bowling. So I love it. Unbelievable job by what he's done in Evanston. And I'm excited to see what he can build, man. I really am. Northwestern, I believe, is getting a new stadium. They're doing a lot of renovations. They're kind of going all out on that. So an opportunity to kind of usher in a new era of Northwestern football with some state-of-the-art facilities. This is an exciting time for the program, and I think they've got the right man for the job. So long explanation there, but I love that story. And I cannot wait to predict their bowl game. We're going to predict, as you know, every single bowl game right here on the channel. So we're predicting every conference championship game here on the channel. We're going to predict every single bowl game here on the channel. We're going to have you covered, guys. I don't know many other channels that are going to predict every game like we're going to do. So we're really looking forward to that and that Northwestern bowl game, wherever they go. We're really excited about it. So we're predicting the games here. The spread picks for those games will be on the gridironexpert.com. We'd love for you guys to go sign up for those. Win big with us there. And again, help support the channel. 5 more. We do a 24-hour live stream, and you can't beat that. All right, let's see what else we got. Who else we got? JD, the guitarist, good to see you. My pre-analysis pick, Georgia or Bama. Oh, man, you're making me pick now? You're making me pick now. I mean, honestly, I've got to go Georgia, right? And it's so funny. It's like the passing of the torch. Years ago, we started this channel back in 2017, and Kirby Smart and Georgia couldn't get over the hump, right? They couldn't get over the Bama curve. They were losing the SEC championship. They lost that national championship, the second and 26th game. It was like, will they ever beat Alabama? And when they finally did, it just broke the streak. So when I was picking those games, I was like, I can't pick Georgia to beat Bama until I see it. Well, I've seen it. And I've seen it multiple times since then, right? We've seen it multiple times, haven't we? Or has it only been once? Because Bama won the SEC championship a few years ago. But then Georgia got the revenge in the national championship. They didn't play in the regular season in 2021, 22. They didn't play that. And then last year was Georgia LSU. So has Kirby Smart only beaten Saban once, or has it been twice? They've won. Stumping me. But anyway, pre-analysis, picking Georgia. But I used to be like, I can't, but now it's kind of opposite. It's like right now, I got to go with Georgia against everybody until I see someone take them down. Maybe that's Bama in the SEC championship. Maybe that's a Michigan or a Washington in the college football playoff. Who knows? Maybe it's Ohio State, who nearly did it last year. I don't know, but I got to go with Georgia until proven otherwise. Now, asking that again next week. Maybe I'm throwing you off. Maybe I'm throwing you off, and I pick something. Maybe I pick Alabama next weekend when we predict the SEC championship. You don't know, but right now I lean Georgia. Good question, JD. Good to see you. I think that was DeMar who called in earlier. So I think we answered all of his questions. I think that was who called in. Yeah, it said Washington on my phone. So yeah, again, thank you for the call and the support. Matthew's out of here. We appreciate you, Matthew. Good to see you. Todd, Satoff. Forgive me. If Michigan loses, they're probably out of the top 4. My question, let's say Ohio State loses by 7. Will they be kicked out of the top 4? Bottom line, guys, is the loser of Michigan and Ohio State is out of the top 4 for the time being. And the loser of that game has to pray that championship weekend is chaotic as all get out. That's what they got to. It doesn't matter if Michigan or Ohio State loses by 1 point. The loser is out of the top 4 until possibly, because again, we're going to have a giant whiteboard session. All right, like next week or going into Selection Sunday, like a Saturday night, we'll have a giant whiteboard session, like markers and everywhere, chicken scratch, man. But what we've got to understand here, you've got undefeated, look at it right now. Undefeated Georgia, they're staying in for the time being. Let's say Ohio State wins. Undefeated, or we'll take your scenario. Ohio State loses by 7. Michigan's undefeated. They're in. Georgia's in. Michigan's in. Washington's in. That's 3 teams. You've got an Ohio State team that has a loss here. What if Florida State's undefeated? That's it. It's done. That's the easiest route. Is Georgia wins out, the Big Ten champion wins out, and your scenario, Todd, it's Michigan, Georgia wins out, Michigan wins out, Washington wins out, Florida State wins out, done. That's your playoff. And honestly, it would probably be in that order. It'd be Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Washington 3, Florida State 4. If those teams win out, that's your playoff. It's done. So, again, the loser of Michigan, Ohio State, regardless of what the margin is, falls out of the top 4. The loser of that then just has to pray, assuming it's by a narrow margin. If Michigan, Ohio State loses by like 20 plus, like Ohio State did, like, what was it last year, like 22 points, it doesn't matter. They're not going to recover from that. But you lose a narrow game in the game, you're on the outside looking in, and you just pray for chaos. You pray for chaos on Saturday afternoon. You pray that a team like Auburn beats Alabama, and if they don't, you pray that Georgia beats Alabama, and that's the championship game. You pray for chaos on championship Saturday with maybe Louisville beating Florida State. Like, you've got to hope for crazy things to happen if you want to slip in there if you lose on Saturday. So, again, this is going to be a very, very interesting next couple of weeks in the landscape of college football. But good question, Todd. Very good question. Let's see here. I love that from Noah, man. You were in Jordan-Hare Stadium, and you had like 50 people, about 50 of you in the one tiny little corner. Because, of course, a road game, they're going to stick you in a very obscure part of the stadium. They don't want you making enough noise. They probably didn't think you'd make any noise at all because they expected to win by like 24 or 25 points. That was a spread, wasn't it? I love it, man. That is awesome. Is that your profile picture too? I think it is. I'm trying to get like really close to see here, trying to zoom in. I think that's your profile picture is at Jordan-Hare Stadium in that obscure corner of the stadium. I freaking love it. That is awesome. That is awesome. Katie Crawford, yes, it has happened yet. The ranking show has happened. Rewind. You'll get you can look up the rankings now, but if you want our analysis on those rankings, you can rewind it and watch it all. We hope you do. We definitely do. Yeah, that was DeMar calling in. We appreciate you, DeMar, again. Let's see what else we've got. Scotty B, that you share a sentiment that me and many others feel across the country. Do you feel that Baylor and West Virginia will have a lot of empty seats due to the holidays, the losing season, and they're straight up tired of Dave Aranda? I love the honesty, Scotty. I love the honesty. But yeah, and here's the thing. I think Aranda's a good coach. I really do. But obviously last year was less than ideal. I really thought Baylor would bounce back. Like, last year was very disappointing for Baylor, and I thought this year would be a bounce back year. It's been even worse. So you've seen a Baylor team struggle mightily under Dave Aranda at first, then they go on to win the Big 12 and the Sugar Bowl, then they regress, and then they regress even more. They're not going in the right direction. I think Aranda gets one more year, Scotty. I think you would maybe agree with me with that. It's kind of similar to an Arkansas situation. Arkansas struggled at first under Sam Pittman, had a really big year the next year, regressed the next year, regressed even worse the year after. They're not going in a good direction, but yet Sam Pittman's keeping his job in Fayetteville for at least another season. Is it the right choice? Probably not. But like Arkansas, like Baylor, who else are they going to go get? Who are they going to get? So I think Aranda gets the benefit of the doubt. I think he gets one more season. If he fails to go to a bowl game next year, fails to win 7, 8, 9 games, somewhere in that range next year, be more competitive than Baylor has been this year, he's out. Plain and simple, out of a job. So I do think he gets one more year, and that's frustrating for the fan base, but I think that's kind of what we're looking at. But I do feel where you're coming from. Doggy, good to see you. I think if Florida State loses against Florida or Louisville, yes, that is correct. ACC is truly not deep enough. If Florida State loses, they get left out because I can't remember who it was we were talking to on the phone earlier, but as much as I'd love to see Louisville maybe find a way to slip in there, as we mentioned, they are the worst one-loss team out of the contenders. Oregon, Alabama, Texas, they're the worst one-loss team. They have a very bad loss to Pittsburgh, who has a losing record, and will finish with a losing record. 3 wins, maybe at the max, 3, 4. And again, the committee, while they shouldn't do this, they will. If they beat Florida State, they're going to say, congrats, Louisville, you won, but you beat a Florida State team with a backup quarterback. Therefore, we do not value your ACC championship as much as we would had you beaten Jordan Travis. That's wrong, in my opinion. That's wrong, but that will be what happens. And Louisville simply isn't going to jump ahead. They're ninth, 10th? It's just not happening. So, yes, if Florida State loses one game, regardless of who it's to, Florida State or Florida or Louisville, ACC's done. And that opens the door for a one-loss team to get into the playoff. It really does. And that might be the most possible scenario there is Florida State and Washington, to me, are the most vulnerable teams right now. I know Michigan or Ohio State's going to lose. We know that. They got to play each other. Florida State's very vulnerable. We don't know how they're going to play without Jordan Travis, and these next two games are not going to be easy for them. Washington, I think they get past Washington State, but they have a very good chance to lose to Oregon. And if they lose to Oregon, they're out of the playoff. So those two teams are very, very vulnerable right now. One of them is going to lose. One of them is going to slip up. And it's going to open the door for someone like Oregon, maybe, if they beat Washington. It's going to open the door for someone like Texas. It's going to open the door for someone like Alabama if they can beat Georgia. So watch out. Watch out. Stedman Riley, good to see you, my guy. Happy Thanksgiving. Right back at you, man. Happy to hear from you. There's still a good amount of football left to be played, but who's my Heisman? Great question. Very good question. Man, I think you got to go with Jaden Daniels, right? I mean, this guy's like a video game, a walking video game. He's been playing absolutely phenomenal football so far. Ridiculous stats. And the funny thing is, we haven't talked a lot about the Heisman this year, right? Like, I feel like the award has kind of been put on the back burner. People don't value it as much. They don't pay as much attention to it. Maybe it's because we haven't, I don't know. Like, there hasn't been one clear front runner. But I think Jaden Daniels probably has that edge right now, but Michael Penix not that far behind him. I love what Penix is doing at Washington, but I think, and Bo Nix as well. I think those are probably your top three are Daniels, Penix, and Bo Nix, all in the mix there for the Heisman. But I would vote Jaden Daniels right now. Stedman, good question. Haven't talked a lot about the Heisman. Glad you brought it up, and I hope you have a good Thanksgiving, man. We'll be in touch here very soon. Casey, they weren't punished. They weren't punished. You're saying they were punished because they beat North Alabama by 45. It wasn't that they were punished. It was because the team that was directly behind them went on the road and beat the number 11 team in the country. That's why. Washington owns the better metrics everywhere. They own the strength of schedule. They own the strength of record. They've got the better resume. They've got currently the better quarterback. Although we're not saying that Florida State dropped because of the injury to Jordan Travis, but to say they were punished because they only beat North Alabama by 45, no. They dropped because Washington just had a much more impressive victory this last Saturday than Florida State did. And they still have a much better resume than Florida State does. That is why. They were not punished. No, not going to have that. Let's see. Couple more questions here, and then we'll slowly start to wrap things up here on this Tuesday Night Live show. Almost an hour and a half strong. Got a lot. Time flies, man. I love it. All right. What are my thoughts on Washington State and Oregon State getting control of the Pac-12? They're not getting in control. They're going to the Mountain West. It's bottom line. The Pac-12 is going to cease to exist. You can't have a conference with two teams, right? You just can't. So those two teams are either going to the Mountain West or they're going to be independents. And they can play each other every year as independents, schedule each other every year if you want. But I don't – the conference will cease to exist. So saying they have sole control of the Pac-12, it's not even a conference. It's like a partnership. Like two teams is a partnership. It's a dynamic duo. There's no conference. So, no, they're not going to have control of the conference. There won't be a conference. You can't fund a conference. They're going to have to leave. They're going to have to get picked up by the Mountain West. They're going to have to become independent. They're going to have to do something. There will be no Pac-12 by the end of this year. The last Pac-12 game ever will be the Pac-12 championship, and it will probably be a big one. And I hate really that the conference is disbanding after this, right? I mean, after watching what we saw this year from the Pac-12, it's been a lot of fun. Washington's been phenomenal. Oregon's been great. Oregon State's been good. Utah has been good for the majority of the year, and obviously would have been a much better team had Cam Rising played this year. But he will be back next year in the Big 12, so that's exciting. But Oregon, Washington, Oregon State, Utah, Colorado at one point was solid. USC at one point was solid. UCLA been relatively solid. This has been a very competitive conference, and it's kind of a shame to see it all just falling apart right before our eyes because of money. Money and poor leadership. The Pac-12 really dug themselves a hole, and leadership screwed them over in the long run. But there will be no Pac-12 conference, so there's nothing to hold control of. Yeah, Casey, we've kind of talked about that. I don't know. That's where the chaos ensues. If they're going to beat Georgia Tech, so you think they're a lock, well, what happens to Alabama if Alabama beats Georgia? Do you really put 2 SEC teams in there and leave 2 other teams out? Like, it's going to be tough. Once again, another reason why we need expansion. We wouldn't have to have this conversation, unfortunately. Let's see here. Matthew Whittington, good to see you, man. Happy to have you here. Washington will be in the top 4 in the final season. Win out, and they will be. Plain and simple. Win 2 games. All you got to do. One of those, though, will come against Oregon. Have to come against Oregon, and that's a very, very, very tough team to beat. They are good. Very, very good. Pre-prediction, Clement, of the Big 12 championship game. Gotta lean Texas on that one. Gotta lean Texas, barely, right? Like, I mean, Oklahoma State's hit or miss. It depends on Alan Bowman, man. Ollie Gordon's great. Texas' rushing defense is going to have to step up big to slow him down. So can Alan Bowman deliver in the clutch? Would he be able to deliver? Mike Gundy, man, I'd love to see him win with Oklahoma State. I'd love to see them get a Big 12 championship. It'd be awesome. But it's going to be tough. Two really, really good offenses. Texas owns the defensive advantage. That's why I'd probably side slightly right now with the Longhorns. But, Clement, I got to watch this Saturday. I got to watch how Texas plays against Texas Tech. I've got to watch how Oklahoma State plays against BYU. Assuming those are the 2 teams that do meet, my opinion very well could change by this time next week, depending on what I see on the field this Saturday. So, but good question. And again, we're going to predict every conference championship game right here on the channel. Every conference championship game will be predicted right here on the channel. So you will get full analysis and full picks right here. And the spread picks for those will be on the gridironexpert.com. Again, we're just a handful of sales away from that 24-hour live stream. It benefits the channel significantly. Help us out. The holiday special really is there for you guys. It gives you a lot of big-time picks, especially this holiday season, especially with the bowl pick'ems coming up. It's going to help your pools, whether it's your family pool, office pool, who knows. These picks, the holiday special, will help you win those pools. Will help you win those competitions. Let's go check it out. Last few here. Jerry, me too, my guy. Me too. Rivalry weekend is the best. And keep in mind, guys, we got MACtion on right now. Egg Bowl is on Thanksgiving night. So you've got Ole Miss and Mississippi State. The Bulldogs fired Zach Arnett, but they are still fighting for a bowl berth. So they beat Ole Miss. They go to a bowl game. That's on Thursday night. A lot of games on Friday. A huge day on Saturday. Like, it's really 3 straight days of college football and quality college football, which all college football is quality football in my opinion. But yeah, Saturday is going to be the peak. We've got some big games starting on Thursday. And then last 2 here, does Notre Dame roll over Stanford and get revenge 100%? It will not even be close. The Fighting Irish will dominate that game from start to finish. Revenge on their mind, and also just being 10 times the better team. Yeah, they win big. And then Michael, good to see you. Who will UCLA hire after firing Chip Kelly? Your guess is as good as mine. Your guess is as good as mine. I really don't know. I think UCLA is making a mistake firing Chip Kelly. I really do. I would give him 1 more year. This was the deepest Pac-12 we've had in years, and they were doing it with a freshman quarterback, a true freshman quarterback. I just think that was a bad decision. Maybe the Bruins thought, hey, let's just get a clean slate heading into the Big Ten. We'll just completely restart. But I think there's a lot of talent there. Kelly's a good coach. He's a good offensive-minded coach. And I think getting a coach in there and maintaining that continuity is going to give you your best chance to have some immediate success in your new conference than trying to bring in a completely brand new coach, completely brand new schemes, and everything like that. So I really don't know. I wish I could give you a list of guys that I think would be good for the job. It really depends on what UCLA wants. Are they going for a proven coach, a big-name proven coach? Are they going for a new up-and-comer? Are they going for a coordinator? I don't know. But this is also going to end up proving costly to them. Bo Nix is about to be gone. Bo Nix is going to leave Oregon after this year. Keep in mind, Dante Moore was going to go to Oregon before Chip Kelly flipped him. Well, you lose your head coach. you might lose your star quarterback along with him. And Dante Moore could go to Oregon to replace Bo Nix, and Oregon's going to remain a juggernaut. And they're going to be set very well in the Big Ten. So I don't know, man. I think it's a poor decision by UCLA if they truly do go through with it. But, the coaching carousel has begun. We've already seen a handful of firings. We've heard a handful of rumors already circulating. Plane tracker is going to be going. Everybody's going to be studying the airports and studying the short list. And all I can say this, last thing I'll leave you with is don't believe everything you read on the internet, right? You're scrolling through Twitter. You're scrolling through your message boards, don't believe every report you hear from your favorite beat writers and your favorite news reporters and things like that, because quite frankly, no one knows what the hell's going on with these coaching changes and these coaching searches except for the guys behind the closed doors making the decisions. That's bottom line. No one knows. So you can hear all these big name rumors and this, that, and the other. Don't believe any of it until a decision has actually been announced. So that's all I can say. But with that, guys, let's call it a night. Chad Morris to Texas A&M. Brady, I'd love nothing more. Would love nothing more. I think every team should get the honor and the privilege to have such a brilliant, mature, winning coach like Chad Morris. I don't know why no one's called him yet. It blows my mind. I have no idea. But with that, guys, thank you all so much for a fantastic live stream here on the Gridiron Expert. This was a really, really good one. A great set of rankings, great engagement with the calls. We appreciate every single one of you, and sincerely, from the bottom of our hearts, we hope you all have a great and a safe and a fun-filled Thanksgiving. I hope you get to spend it with your friends, your family, your loved ones. Getting to do those 5 Fs, right? Family, friends, faith, football, and lots of good food. So I hope you have a great Thanksgiving night. We do have predictions coming out tomorrow. Tomorrow we've got Ohio State and Michigan. We're putting our video out on that tomorrow. Thursday, we will have Oregon State and Oregon. So we've got some videos coming out this week through Thanksgiving weekend. Stay tuned for that. We'll be back on Sunday with our Week 13 rivalry weekend recap. And then we start conference championship analysis. And of course, we'll be right back here next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Central Time, breaking down the next set of playoff rankings, which will be the last set of rankings before Selection Sunday. Things are truly starting to heat up, guys. But as always, we'll have you covered every step of the way. So to my man Doggy, Brady Glassman, Scotty B, Jerry Turner, college football guy, sorry missed you. We'll catch you next week. Michael Brennan, again, Jerry again, my man Joe Stevens, Clement, Matthew, DeMar, Casey, Robert, Stedman. Let's see, who else we got? Our man Mitch, our super chat donators, Fernando and Noah and Mitch. We appreciate every single one of you. My name Matthew Hazelhorst. We got Tyler. Who else we got here? CS Productions, Christian Fernandez, and everybody else we may have missed. Our man DM. As always, we appreciate every single one of you. You guys have a great rest of your night. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert. Again, next Tuesday. Don't miss it. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you then.